This is Shelley Hughley with Southwest Farm Press, and joining me is Greg Griffin with Wilbur Ellis, and he provided a fertilizer update today for attendees. Would you talk about, just hit some of the highlights of what producers can expect this year?
Markets are tight. Products are extremely expensive. There's a lot of risk adversity going on today on behalf of retailers, and so I think overall cash is going to be king. People are remaining to be liquid. They're choosing not to spend cash today unless they know what inputs they're getting, they're going to get a return on. And so overall, it's a really suppressed marketplace, unfortunately, today.
You made an important point at the beginning, and then you ended with it, how important planning is going to be this year.
Yes.
Let's talk about planning and also just talk about the supply chain and why planning is especially important this season.
Sure. So we just mentioned cash. Cash is pretty hard to come by these days, and a lot of companies are trying to figure out where to spend capital, where not to spend capital. And so that's weighing heavily on buying decisions on retailers, wholesalers. They don't really want to go out and take on a bunch of risk. And so in order to plan effectively with your suppliers, you really need to start having those conversations now, because retailers are just not holding on to product, hoping that it moves because of the risk. And so I don't expect prices to really come off anytime soon.
Okay.
And so farmers really need to start planning today in order to secure their products.
There's a lot of talk about supply chain, exports.
Sure, the supply chain remains challenged. I think the railroad's certainly under capacity constraints. You've got trucking lanes that are really prohibitive. You've got import-export lanes that are really being disrupted by geopolitical areas of the world. And so really the logistical pipeline is such to where you really goes back to planning, because it's going to take you a while to get production into your sheds in order to sell it. And so, as we just mentioned, I'm not going to take on a bunch of risk and own product, and so I'm going to have to back that. So those conversations are pretty imperative for us to be able to get product to supply to you.
And you kind of gave a timeline of what it used to take to get product here and what
Correct.
it's taking right now.
So typically on rail, historically, anywhere from 7 to 10 days was on average. Today, that's taken up to 15 to 20. So you virtually have doubled the time that it takes to get product to you.
Okay.
Which, again, it goes back to planning.
Right.
It's a pretty challenging marketplace today. I would just encourage you to please stay in contact with your suppliers, one, and two, keep an eye on the globe. The globe impacts our world here at home more than most people think it does.
Okay.
So China, India, Russia, natural gas prices globally, those kinds of things are certainly stuff to stay in tune with and keep on top of, because it's eventually going to find its way to your doorstep.